Hey there, thank you for joining me. Today I'm discussing the top 5 jobs with the most military veterans. If you're new here, please click subscribe. Now let's get started. Number 1, government agencies. Despite our dislike for certain government agencies like the IRS, for example, the government actually impacts the lives of all Americans, and veterans that have the desire to continue serving can fulfill that desire with a government job. Government jobs include city, county, state, and also the federal government. Last year alone, over 600,000 veterans worked for the federal government. That's a pretty big chunk, don't you think? Overall, around 25% of employed veterans worked for the government. And the average salary for the federal government employee last year was around $90,000 a year. It's not a bad deal considering the national average right now is $56,000 a year. Now, typically, the lower levels of government, such as city or county, those jobs are paid less by a direct comparison. Now, if you want to know the best places to get a government job, well, I'm sure you can guess the first one. The top 3 locations to attain federal employment. Number 1 is Washington, D.C. Number 2 is California. And number 3 is Texas. And combined, these 3 locations have over 750,000 federal government jobs. Also, there are a total of 15 executive departments in the federal government. And the top 3 departments where you will find veterans are number 1, Department of Defense, number 2, Veteran Affairs, and number 3, the Social Security Administration. Okay, so moving on to number 2. Number 2 is defense contracting. And if you're in the military, a great reason a lot of people decide to work as a defense contractor is because you can take what you're doing in the military and you can apply it in the civilian world. Over 400,000 veterans are currently employed by a dozen of defense contracting companies. And surprisingly, there are over 5,000 government contracting companies right now. However, some of these companies are not necessarily defense contracting. The average salary for a defense contractor is about $84,000 a year nationally. However, this pay varies greatly, and there are a lot of contractors that easily make over 6 figures a year, and that's not even including bonuses. The top 3 locations for a defense contracting job are, once again, Washington, D.C., Orlando, Florida, and Tampa, Florida. And the top 3 defense contracting companies with veteran employees are Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Booz Allen Hamilton. Links to all 3 will be in the description. The third area for veteran jobs or industry would be the healthcare industry. Often, the veterans already have transferable training. For example, like a combat medic or a nurse or other military medical professionals, they have transferable skills that make them qualified for civilian medical positions immediately. Currently, about 9% of veterans are working in the healthcare industry. So, how much money can you expect working in the healthcare industry? Well, the average salary range starts at a home health aide, which earns about $27,000 a year, a health service manager, which earns about $104,000 a year, and a physician assistant, which earns $115,000 a year, and you can go a little bit higher. Now, there are hospitals everywhere, but the top 3 locations for healthcare professionals are Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Ohio, and Providence, Rhode Island. Also, as a healthcare professional, you can work in a hospital, a school, government agencies, or providing home health care. The top 3 cities with the most healthcare jobs are Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, and Baltimore, Maryland. The next industry is the education industry. Many of us in uniform are already experienced training other people, and in a lot of ways, this transition can make the most sense. Teachers have a unique opportunity to make a difference in the lives of their students, and teachers are directly influential in a student's life. As of today, there are more than 21,000 veterans that are working as teachers. There was a program called Troops to Teachers, TTT, that was specifically designed for this type of transition. But the Department of Defense recently decided to axe the program. They canceled it and decided to take that money and spend it elsewhere. The national average salary for a teacher is $63,000 a year. This varies greatly if you're teaching at a public or a private school and where the school is located. The states that employ the most teachers are Texas, California, and New York. Now, if you're chasing a higher salary, The states that pay the most for teachers are New York, California, and Massachusetts. This is probably because of the high cost of living in those states. Obviously, you can find teaching jobs in any state, but it is worth noting that the majority of veterans choose to teach at elementary and middle schools. Very few veterans choose to teach kindergarten or special education. Finally, we have management consulting, which is the practice of helping organizations to improve their performance. Over 10,000 veterans work as management consultants at the variety of consultant firms. This is probably the most financially lucrative option on this list. Also, the veterans that work as management consultants are typically commissioned officers with MBAs or other graduate degrees, although there are prior enlisted service members that do work as management consultants. The starting salary for a management consultant is about $70,000 a year for an analyst, and then you move up to manager, you can be pulling about $150,000 a year, and up to $500,000 a year for vice presidents or partners. And on top of that, the average annual bonus is in the tens of thousands of dollars. The top firms that hire veterans are located in Boston, Massachusetts, New York City, and Washington, D.C. As you might have noticed, Washington, D.C. keeps on making this list. And the top management consulting firms with a lot of veteran employees are Deloitte, McKinsey, and Boston Consulting Group. I will leave a link to each one in the description. Now, in my experience, I went with a federal government job, and if you would like to know some of the benefits of a federal government career, check out my other video in the corner above. Well, that wraps up my video on the top 5 jobs with the most military veterans. If you have any other questions or comments, please leave those down below. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.